finite people, our minds are finite. We can't understand the concept of something being infinite. There it is, 26 minutes, we're over time. And 40 seconds or whatever it was. So that amount of the concept of something being infinite, never ending, is not something we can understand, but we can get the fact that it is not within the realm of understanding. It's so much different than this world. So Hashem basically said, look, you work for a little bit, you'll get unlimited reward. And that's life. That's what life's about. Now understand, if we were to just think for a moment, if we were to understand the value of a single mitzvah, and we were to think about that, and think about how the reward for that mitzvah, as small as it may be, is infinite, there's no way we'd ever make a wrong decision in life. It'd be impossible. That'd be like someone saying, here, look, you can either have $1 now, or I can give you a penny every minute for the rest of your life. And then your kids, the same thing. And then forever, right? The person that takes $1 is a fool, right? Doesn't make any sense, but it's only because we don't realize the value of a mitzvah and the concept of eternity. If we would understand what it means to have infinite amount of reward for every mitzvah that we do, we'd never do anything wrong. But we're finite, so we don't understand it, we don't think about it, and it's when we lose sight of that we stumble and we fall and we make mistakes, because we're grabbing for the $1 instead of realizing that the penny every minute is going to add up to way, way more. Okay. We good?
Oh, good.
Okay. Got nervous there for a minute. Okay. Okay. So, all right. Now, before we go on, I do need to preface a little bit here with the way Rav Chaim Friedlander talks about this next part, or really this part that we just talked about even. One thing that I did not mention was, he said that mankind is given a certain amount of time and the limitations and all of that. We didn't talk about Adam HaRishon. Adam HaRishon was designed to live and not die. So this whole setup, we have to understand if that's in the context of mankind today, with death, or was that referring to Adam prior to the advent of death? So the Ramchal is going to talk about it later. We'll get to it next time, hopefully. But just keep that in mind, that that's something that needs to be addressed. Okay. Another thing we have to talk about here is this idea of these two parts. So let's see, where is it here? Hold on, let me find it. Oh, it's actually a little bit later. You know what? It's a little bit later. All right, let's continue. We'll get to it in a minute. Okay, so he says, however, this is Daled, number 4. Kifi hischalev zemanoi. As the time changes, kach roi sheyischalev matzavei ushar mikrav. So too, it makes sense that all of his situation, everything around him, should also change. He calls zaman ishtadlus, because during the time of working, that we're doing our effort, a person needs to be in a certain way, a certain type. And that he should be in a position to have all the different things that he needs in order to do this work that he needs to do. You have to have the ability to achieve and accomplish all of that. Pirush, meaning, it needs to be that he has this war, this internal battle available, that we've mentioned, between the intellect and the physical. And there can't be anything that's going to stop the physical from ruling and doing its job to the degree that it's able and it's supposed to. And there should be nothing stopping the intellect from doing its job and being able to assert its rulership over the person, based on the amount that's appropriate for it. Meaning everything needs to be equal, everything needs to be balanced. There can't be anything that will cause the physical to be stronger than it should have been. And there can't be anything that causes the spiritual, the intellectual, to be stronger than it should be. Because even though, from one perspective, it would seem that it would be better if we were kind of pushed and leaned towards the intellectual side and given more of a spiritual side than a physical side, that would seem to be make us better suited for accomplishing our goal. But but according to the true intention of Hashem's running the world, and that which is wanted and desired of man to accomplish, which is to acquire this perfection through our own work, and then it's not good. It's not good to have a predisposition towards the spiritual side, because then you don't have the ability to really choose equally, and you can't acquire it to the fullest because you've already started, halfway to that side. So you're not really getting it in the fullest extent possible. So what he's saying here is this is a difficult concept, but what he's saying here is that a person has to be within their lifetimes. They have to be at a crossroads at all times, and that crossroads has to be, the way he's saying it, 50-50. Okay? So there can't be anything that pushes a person more to one side than to the other. Now this is tough. It's tough to understand this because we would think that, someone who grows up in a completely irreligious area and family and has no exposure to Torah and all of that is certainly going to be more cut out, or I guess almost predestined to be to what we'll call the physical side, as opposed to the person who grew up in the rabbinic family with the yeshiva and everything, who would seem to be more towards the intellectual, spiritual side. So there's two ways of understanding this. The way that Reb Chaim Friedlander understands this is that he's talking about Adam Harishon. Okay, this is talking about the initial creation of man, the way it should have been, but that's changed. That's one way to understand this. Another way to understand this is, as we mentioned from Rav Dessler, is that every person has their own personal potential that they need to reach. Within that potential, everybody has their own battles to fight. So let's say you take the person, and we mentioned this before, let's say you take the person who grew up in the slums, and for him, thievery was standard, and mugging was a way of life. So when they walk down the street and they see the person in the front of the car, we mentioned this before, yes? Mm-hmm. So for that person, the challenge to not take it is a great challenge. We'll call that a level 9 challenge for that individual. But for the rabbi behind him is walking up the same street and sees that same purse, that's not a challenge, it's a 0. It's not even on the radar of a challenge. It's not a challenge at all. He doesn't even think to take the person in the seat, right? But for him, the challenge is when he walks into shul and they're in the middle of davening and someone comes over to him who hasn't seen him in 25 years and he has to hold his tongue and not talk during davening. That's a level 9 challenge for him. So the challenges are in completely different places. But for the individual at that specific time and circumstance, they're going to have their challenge that is exactly 50-50 for them at that moment. So and there's like a sliding scale, right? So we need to reach our potential, but my potential is going to take me 100 points of effort, and your potential is also going to take you 100 points of effort, and so is yours and everybody else. But what that effort looks like is going to vary from person to person, from day to day, from time to time, from circumstance to circumstance, and that's all going to change. So if we understand it that way, then what Reb Chal is saying is that within that moment, when you're given the challenge that it really makes a difference, it's 50-50. And that's what he's talking about over here. Because if at that moment that challenge wasn't 50-50, it was 40-60, then already we wouldn't be attaining that level that we need to attain on our own. It's kind of being given to us, and that is not what Hashem.
And that would eradicate free will.
To an extent, yes.
Eliminate
right.
Free will to an extent.
It wouldn't give us the perfection of reward. The perfection of reward is when we earn it entirely, not when it's kind of given to us.
But even in that situation you described in the past where there's a particular sin and you've been recognizing it, and then later now it's more recent. You're saying I have the challenge and I overcome it. Okay, but then let's say you have it then again the temptation or whatever. I thought each time
It gets easier.
Right. So
Correct.
that doesn't look like 50-50.
It is. That just means that the challenge the next time isn't the point of challenge. The next time that comes up, it's not 50-50, but that's not where you're being challenged anymore. Now there's a different element that's going to be a challenge. Okay. All right. Thank you for coming. Again, we're off the next 2 weeks. Everyone have a Gemar Chasima Tova. I hope everybody is Michael, me, and everyone else. For all the terrible things we said about you, even though you didn't know about it. And it's been a pleasure, and we hope to continue. Everybody is encouraged to please invite a friend. We're happy to grow the class. We'll talk to Uncle David about getting some more tables out here. And everyone everyone should be given a Gemar Chasima Tova, a wonderful, happy, sweet new year full of simcha and growth. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.